The topic for this session is Significance of Wasatiyat and Tionghoa for a New World Civilization. The session will serve as a global recognition into Wasatiyat and Tionghoa as an invaluable wisdom of human civilization. How Wasatiyat Islam and Tionghoa has significantly contributed in the past and can contribute in the future to the civilization betterment are the substances which this session seeks to advance. We are honored to have Professor Poppy Rufaida, professor at the University of Pajajaran, Bandung, to lead the forum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we were going to start the second day of the 9th World Peace Forum with the topic of considering Wasatiyat and Tionghoa for global collaboration. The first session of the World Peace Forum will be conducted by the moderator. I'm Poppy Rufaida, former Education and Cultural Attaché at the Indonesian Embassy in Washington, D.C., USA, and also part of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah for the Department of the International Relation and Cooperation. So we will inform to all the speaker. We only allocated 5 minutes since we have many sessions that will be conducted by the forum. So we are going to invite the speaker that has already in this forum, and we also will offer to the panel to provide the insight or the insight, and we only allocate at for each panel for only 3 minutes. So we will invite the first speaker, Mr. Ayatullah, Dr. Ayatullah Hamid Sahriari, the Secretary General of the World Forum for Proximity of Islamic School of Thought from Iran.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Honorable guests of the conference, esteemed scholars, dear brothers and sisters, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizer of this distinguished conference, especially Professor Dean Shamsuddin, for advancing the concept of asatiyah, moderation, in Islam, and to the conference sponsor, Tanseri Lee Kim Yo, for promoting the Confucian value of Zhongyong, the doctrine of the mean or moderation. These two parallel ideas create a valuable opportunity of achieving lasting and genuine global peace. Yet we are witnessing a fundamental problem in our time, a problem for which humanity has not yet found an effective solution. We live in a world where everyone speaks of peace, yet what we see in the field is war. International organizations that were established to safeguard world peace have become ineffective. Imperial powers and aggressors pursue their own interests, ready to shed innocent blood for their gain. We speak of dialogue, yet in the midst of dialogue, the homes of ordinary people are bombed. In Gaza, over 67,000 people, among them women, children, and elderly, have been killed, and more than 160,000 injured. Many were doctors, hospital workers, and journalists who courageously continued their humanitarian missions amid the flame. More than 400 journalists and 120 doctors and nurses have lost their lives. hospitals, schools, and UN shelters have been bombed repeatedly. Children lie beneath the rubble, and mothers have perished while embracing the bodies of their children. In the face of such atrocities, what has the so-called civilized world done? What effective tools for peace has it offered? Why has it remained silent? And worse, why has it sided with the aggressors, arming them instead of restraining them? Complicity with oppression is betrayal of human values. And whenever we rejoice that one war has ended and peace has been restored, another conflict erupts us like a monster rising from another land. We have not yet recovered from the grief of Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran, and now we hear the sounds of war in Sudan. Why is this happening? Can dialogue and conferences solve our problems? What is the real solution? Can we still engage in dialogue when the world's moral ground is so unstable? The answer is both yes and no. Yes, because dialogue is the first step toward peace. Yes, because peace is a process, not a single event. We must engage in dialogue, find common frameworks, reach agreements, fulfill our commitments, and monitor their implementation to achieve lasting just peace. Yes, because to change global policies, we must first change global discourses, discourses of hatred, identity rejection, and unilateralism must give way to discourses of compassion, cultural plurality, and multilateralism. Yes, because policy change cannot endure without intellectual and moral dialogue. We must anchor our political and practical decisions in reason and justice. Action without thought or ethics will not last. Yes, because we need an awakened public consciousness to resist global arrogance, ignorance, and fanaticism are the twin enemies of lasting peace. When humanity awakened and abandons ethnic and sectarian prejudice, the ground for just peace will open. But also no. No, because these steps alone are not enough. Dialogue by itself does not guarantee peace. At any moment, a Saddam Hussein or Milosevic or a Netanyahu may rise and pursue their slaughter of innocents. We need enforcement mechanisms. Everyone says we need action, but how? How do we stop the killing of innocent when confronted with criminals who target innocent civilians with weapons? How do we protect women and children when the world's tyrants support the aggressor? At this point, I wish to emphasize two practical principles. First, peace cannot endure without power. If we wish to be realistic and not merely idealistic, we must recognize that peace cannot survive on wishes and words alone. Without a deterrence force, peace remains fragile. Such deterrence requires both hard power and soft power. When criminals use hard power, we must resist them with strength. Yet the enemy also distorts narratives. We may defend our land with hard power, but we cannot win hearts and minds with weapons. That requires soft power. Soft power includes political power, enables dialogue, economic power, prevents poverty. Moral power keeps conscience awake. Institutional power organizes society. And spiritual power strengthens the faith of the righteous. We need a balance between, just 1 minute. We need a balance between hard power and soft power. Second, hard and soft power must themselves be morally restrained, or they will turn into their opposites. Only those endowed with spiritually and moral integrity can hold such power rightly. The purpose of power is service, not domination. In the ethical human view, the goal of power is not to overcome others, but to restrain violence and uphold justice. Power without moral control leads to war. Legitimate power protects the oppressed and prevents cycles of revenge. Such power is only possible under a courageous, devout, and ethically grounded leader. In summary, lasting the just peace requires two essential elements. First, dialogue for understanding and reconciliation. Second, resistance against oppressive power and the creation of balanced soft power to confront false narratives. Thank you all.
Thank you to all the seat speaker that will direct the presentation. Please, we remind the allocated time for 5 minutes. So the second seat speaker that will deliver the speech, Mr. Kevisun Vidyananda, the Secretary of Buddhist Muslim Forum. Okay, your time.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here in this very important platform. My appreciation goes out to Dr. Din Samsudin and the organizations here that has brought us together. I want to share with you a couple of points. First of all, recognizing the problems that we face today is one of the first approach in dealing with conflict. As we stand today in this crossroads of our society, what we are witnessing today is a very fractured and imbalanced value system in crisis. The metrics of this imbalance are stark and they are undeniable. The relentless acceleration of climate crisis, the widening and obscene gap in prosperity, where about 1% of the richest control the astonishing amount of the world's wealth, and the reality of global conflicts. This is a tragic outcome of decades-old one-sided value system, and where the maximization of material wealth and geopolitical power has supplanted collective wisdom and spiritual ethics. This obsession with dominance reaches into the very core of our shared security and economy. This system primarily focused on power and gain. I think we all have talked a lot about this. It has fueled the massive industry dedicated to creating weapons and tools for the destruction of human beings. Consider the vast resources spent on military budgets that dwarfs what we spend on global aid and education. This is the clearest example. Meanwhile, in the digital world, the relentless commodification of our attention and our data reduces individual to a mere resource. This structure, which enshrines individual gain above compassion and empathy, leads not to progress but to constant conflict and environmental collapse. What is important, what this moment demands is not more radicalism. We need radically good judgment. In our urgent search for a path forward, we often look only to a few technology or even to the latest policy brief. But what we have today is the greatest wisdom lying right in front of our eyes. The message today is simple. We focus on a powerful concept expressed in two distinct civilizational language. The language of Vasatiya and Tianghua are distinct voices singing the essential same song, the wisdom of the middle, shared and a complete value system for both worlds in itself. So we have the opportunity to appreciate a value system, combining these two very, very in-depth, very, very strong cultural and civilization value. These two principles, the principles of Vasatiya, my apologies if I interpret it incorrectly, is called for active balance and fierce commitment to stand in the center, not to be carried away by a single overwhelming view. And the core principles of Tianghua, which are built on three very powerful and very strong civilizational philosophies. Number one, Confucianism. It provides the structure and the respect for societal order. Taoism, that appreciates the intuitive wisdom and connection to nature as one. And Buddhism, that provides the compassion, inner cultivation, and the liberation of self. So combining these two principles, these two philosophies, we have a very powerful value, or what is called shared value system. And this shared value system is not only important to us, but it is critical, right, for the future in how we intervene in some of the global issues today. So to address the conflict in the world, this shared value system can address a few potential areas. Number one, in economics, to apply the principle of justice, to challenge the wealth gap, and to maximize our collective wealth, not money, but wealth. And I echo what Dr. Maslan mentioned about the need for shared financial system. But beyond that, we need to really rethink the two value systems need to come together and help rethink economic systems. When an economic system blames a country for being poor while they have the largest number of resources in the world, shows a very imbalanced economic system. How do we take these values of Tianghua and Vasatya to convert and bring about strong economic systems? In climate and environment, the application of shared values can bring about balance in the inherent harmony of our relationship, right? And to bring towards responsible stewardship. Yes. And last few points, in digital and AI, I think this is the most important part because digital and AI have the greatest, richest people into our living room, into our brains and into our minds as we flip and scroll our devices. We have to change that. So our shared values must bring around this. One of the efforts that I have started, I know that there are other initiatives as well, is called Digital Bodhisattva, to think about this in a much deeper manner. Last 2 points. What is changing us, what is causing our views to change is the one-sided media domination, mainly through one-sided Western culture. We need to address that as well. So Vasatya and Tionghua's philosophies for shared values must come together to address it. But speaking values is very easy, it sounds very nice. The biggest challenge we have today is implementation. What we don't have and we need to build is to have strong implementation methodologies, like our previous speaker has mentioned, not just talk. We need to have step-by-step methodologies, project management skills, governance, and so on. So we need that. So to achieve lasting peace, we must engrave this balance into our DNA if we want to address the new world order. So lastly, let's commit to recognizing and advancing this invaluable wisdom, the spirit of Vasatya and Tianghua, to guide us to a peaceful society in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sun Vidyananda. So next, speaker, we would like to invite Mr. Lauren Chong, the consultant at the Vatican Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue. Your time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. So first of all, good morning to Park Dean for inviting all of us here in this circle of trust. For sure, each one of us is a leader capable of leading our movements towards common action. And because of the trust by Pak Din, if you do not mind, I'd like to go for the very heart of the issue, as my brother KV has actually presented. How can we go from dialogue towards action? I think if we look at the Wasatiyah ideal and Tionghoa, or in my language in Mandarin, called Zhonghua, Asian culture is a very practical culture because the entire commonality of Asian prosperity is built on the basis of you must be able to provide a roof over the heads of the people, you must be able to provide for them so that they have food, and you must be able to generate shared prosperity. And I'd like to focus on the part in Wasatiyah saying that a just, prosperous, peaceful, inclusive society also allows the element of prosperity. And I want to bring in the Catholic interpretation of prosperity called the economy of communion. Now, the late Pope Francis, who was here in Jakarta, and he loved Jakarta very much. We remember the beautiful scene, his embrace with the Grand Imam of the Istiqlal Mosque, and he was so moved by the experience. We can say that Jakarta became the place for a new version of dialogue, a dialogue of embrace. Now, the late Pope Francis said, if we want to change the economy, we have to reimagine the rules. Now, the challenge of the economy is the current economic system, as shared by KV, is based on consumption, not based on the common good. Now, the other difficulty is at the faith-based level, all of us, Christians, Muslim, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, Jewish, so on and so forth, we influence our believers. We shape the intentionality of our believers. Now, the other thing that I found it very hard when Pope Francis threw this challenge to us Catholics was you have to be able to work with others to change the rules of the economy. The Catholics cannot do this alone. And actually, many years ago, when I worked for the Bank Islam Brunei Darussalam, and I learned about the beauty of Islamic finance, I understood that it is very interesting that in Islam, even though it's very diverse, it is able to create an Islamic finance system recognized by the global markets. But you know, there are Christian assets, Buddhist assets, they are not recognized by the global markets. So, all what we have done in the last few years to reflect on Pope Francis' challenge. Now, if you're a social enterprise, I can tell you something. You can never raise money more than a valuation of $100 million. But do you know that an AI that is unethical, that uses a lot of energy, the valuation is $10 billion. This is wrong because the people in need do not have access to energy, and we are taking energy to power AI. So we need to balance it. But we cannot balance it if we are not willing to support faith-based social enterprises. And there are many faith-based social enterprises. So when I first talk of the idea, I want to create our own capital market for social enterprise. You know what everyone tell me? Lawrence, social enterprise cannot raise so much money. Then I always say, why the AI? Unethical. They can raise up to $1 trillion. This is the net total from Chinese and American AI enterprises. This is the inconvenient truth. So we have taken up Pope Francis' challenge. In June this year at the Vatican, we launched the world's first multi-faith fund. But to do that, we are collaborating with London Stock Exchange because it needs to be transparent, verifiable. It cannot be done in private. It must be subject to public markets assessment. So London Stock Exchange and us will work on the multi-faith economy mark. This is very important because if you raise money, it has to be like ESG. from faith-based enterprises to support social enterprises. In addition to that, we are building a $2 billion multi-faith common growth fund that will allocate the 100 million impact fund. And we have spoken to Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, Buddhist partners, and now we are speaking with Muslim partners. But I want to say something to everyone. Because Pak Din invited all of us as a circle of trust, I invite all of us to come together to realize from our faith traditions how to change the economy for good. Not to just preach to them, but show them another way and prove to them interfaith is not just talk, but is action. I wish all of us can collaborate for a multi-faith economy together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lauren Chong. Next, the seat speaker, Professor Dr. Greg Felly, professor at the Australia National University in Australia. Your time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak, Ibu Rafaida. So I am surrounded by eminent scholars of Islam, theologians, exegetes, philosophers. I myself am a political scientist and historian, so I don't want to comment on the religious uses of the term of wasatiyah, but I do want to comment on how problems we may face in trying to implement principles relating to wasatiyah, how it can be both used in a constructive way, but also misused in a way which is harmful to people and to religious rights. And I'm going to be arguing that we should have a very precise definition for what wasatiyah and perhaps also Tianhua, I'm less knowledgeable about that philosophy, but have a very precise definition of what this means. So let me begin with definitions. And wasatiyah is usually defined as meaning in the middle or in the center, and it also has connotations of moderation and balance. We've heard other terms mentioned in relation to this during the conference, such as tawasut, tawazun, itidal, all of which similarly carry this sense of centrality, of avoiding extremes, of being in balance. So the first point I would make is that this definition is problematic for us because it's relative, not absolute. And it's very unstable and subjective. And the reason for that is because it is defined, wasatiyah is defined in relation to other things that are on either side of it. So wasatiyah could be seen as in the center between left wing and right wing, or in the center between conservatism and progressivism. And so whether we see these as extremes, nonetheless, wasatiyah is somewhere in the middle. But there's the question of what is extreme, and this is very subjective. If someone advocates for a caliphate, is that an extreme view? Or if someone advocates for LGBT or homosexual rights, is that an extreme view or a mainstream view? We will all have our own views on this, but they are subjective. It depends on our opinions about these issues. So wasatiyah is often socially constructed. What we regard as in the middle depends upon what our values are. And these are not fixed. It depends on how we see the world. So let me give some examples here. We know in America we have the government of Donald Trump, the second Trump administration. And he has, in the space of 10 months, 11 months, dramatically changed what the sense of the centre or the middle is. Because lots of actions that we would previously not have seen an American government do we now see the Trump administration doing those things that would be regarded as extreme, arresting people on the streets, sending them not back only to their homelands but to other countries, lots of other things that would be seen as extreme. Donald Trump says he represents the middle of America, the mainstream, so his views are not extreme. Again, we will all have our opinions about this, but Wasatiyah being in the middle, when we have a government that moves to the right, does that mean that Wasatiyah also moves to the right because the position of the extreme has moved? So it is not self-evident where the middle is. It's also interesting to look at how historians have written about terms like Wasatiyah and moderation, because a number of historians have argued that these terms have been used for state control of society. That to talk about moderation meant that people had to conform with what mainstream positioning was, mainstream attitudes was. It was a way to discipline society. So it wasn't necessarily something that respected rights and respected religious freedoms, but rather tried to limit them. And so we need to be aware that things that seem to be always a good thing, moderation, wasatiyah, may not be in practice and have been used to repress or limit people's rights. There's another question relating to wasatiyah and moderation. If we have problems in society that are very extreme, if we have an extremely authoritarian regime, for example, which is very harsh in its repression of its people, moderation may not be the best way to bring about change. And this is what's often called the moderation paradox, that sometimes radical or immoderate behaviour brings about reform. If we look at the Arab Spring protests in the Middle East in 2011, if we have a look at the 1998 protests in Indonesia that removed the Suharto regime, these were not, in some ways, not moderate actions, they were militant actions, and people asserted their rights, and we could argue that good things resulted from that. So we should not always assume that moderation or wasatiyah is the best option. If you avoid confrontation, sometimes that helps to keep in power people who are very intolerant, very repressive towards religion. We can also look at religious diplomacy, where we see that the term moderation is used to whitewash some governments that have a very bad track record of religious and political tolerance. So again, we have to look at the meaning of these terms. So one of the things I would urge for our discussion is to try to give an intrinsic value to what wasatiyah is. And I have several suggestions which I put forward very humbly because I'm not an expert on religion as such. But I would hope that wasatiyah would contain the following values. One would be an understanding of religion in which one's own beliefs are but one of many that have truth value. The second point would be that there needs to be greater toleration of difference or contrary views on religious matters. And the final point would be embracing the principle of equality of rights among faiths. If there were details such as that attached to wasatiyah and perhaps Tionghoa, well then that would help to stabilise the meaning of wasatiyah. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Greg Valley. Now we would like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Veronika Novoselseva, the Deputy Ambassador of the Russian Federation to Indonesia.
Thank you very much. Esteemed Mr. Din Shamsuddin, honorable ambassadors, honorable participants of this conference, thank you very much again. For Russia, the issue of moderate Islam has a very big importance. It is one of the country's key religions, and developing of a balanced and moderate form of Islamic presence is a vital part of strengthening inter-ethnic and interfaith harmony. I just want to give some figures. Totally, for about 20 million people in Russia are Muslims. We have 6,900 of registered Islamic organizations that are united into 100 centralized larger organizations. This shows that Islam is the second religion after Orthodox Church in Russia. There are more than 8,000 mosques. The largest of them are Moscow Grand Mosque, built in 2015. The Mosque of Abdul Hamid Afandi in the city of Makhachkala, the Mosque of Rahimiye in the city of Ufa, built in 2017, and some others. There are 90 Islamic educational organizations in Russia, including quite a big number of Islamic universities. In 2005, the Majlis on Islamic Education was established. Under the President of the Russian Federation, there is a foundation of supporting Islamic culture. One of the tasks of this foundation is to counter all the manifestations of Islamophobia. They very much support tolerance and interconventional coexistence. Russia also cooperates with Islamic educational institutions in other countries, such as in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, in Kuala Lumpur, in Cairo, in some other countries, including Indonesia also. Under the government of the Russian Federation, there is the Majlis on Hajj, and I would like to give the figure that annually more than 25,000 of Russian Muslims go for Hajj to the Saudi Arabia. So the largest Muslim ethnic groups in Russia are Tatars, for about 5 million people, Chechens, for about 2 million people, Bashkirs, for about 2 million people, Avars, over 1 million people. Major Muslim communities are concentrated in the Volga region, in Tatarstan and Bashkortostan, in the North Caucasus, Dagestan and Chechnya, and such big cities as Moscow and St. Petersburg. These figures confirm that Muslims are an integral and growing part of the Russian society. The Islamic community is organized through spiritual administrations, mosques, madrasah, and charitable foundations. For moderate Islam to flourish, some institutions must have legal recognition, public trust, and productive relationship with both the state and the civil society. A stable and non-radical Muslim community helps to maintain inter-ethnic peace and reduces the risks of social tension. Supporting moderate Islam reinforces the idea of a law-based, multi-faith society where citizens enjoy equal rights regardless of the religion. A moderate and well-integrated Muslim community enhances Russia's credibility as a partner that understands the Islamic world and can engage in a constructive dialogue. In the face of global challenges such as terrorism and radicalization, cooperation with the state and religious communities is crucial for effective prevention. Talking on the Russia's cooperation with the Islamic world, I would like to give some figures also. In 2024, Russia's trade turnover with Organization of Islamic Cooperation member states grew by more than 30%. Trade with Saudi Arabia increased by over 60%, surpassing $3.8 billion. Trade with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization member countries also exceeded $400 billion during the first 9 months of 2025. In agriculture, Russia remains a major exporter of grain and halal products to Muslim-majority countries, including Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Bangladesh, and many others. The annual forum, Russia Islamic World Kazan Forum, held in Tatarstan, is a key platform for expanding economic, cultural, and educational ties. A strong and respected Muslim community within Russia enhances the country's international standing by enabling Russia to engage Islamic nations on equal terms politically, economically, and culturally. Positioning Russia as one of the bridges between the Islamic world and Eurasia, promoting interfaith dialogue and mutual understanding, allowing Muslim-majority regions such as Tatarstan and North Caucasus to serve as centers of educational and cultural exchanges, presenting a model of Islam that is peaceful, law-abiding, and cooperative, contrasting sharply with global stereotypes of radicalism. The steps that can strengthen the model of moderate Islam in Russia and enhance its contribution to both domestic and international stability are the following: to support Islamic education and scholarships, invest in universities, madrasah, and imam training programs focused on civic responsibility and dialogue, engage Muslim youth, involving young people in social, entrepreneurial, and cultural projects to foster integration and prevent radicalization, promote transparency and cooperation, strengthening mutual trust between Muslim institutions, government authorities, and civil society. To emphasize shared citizenships, reinforce the idea that being Muslim in Russia means being a full and equal member of the nation. Thank you again for the attention, and I very much hope that today's discussion helps us to better understand, among others, the vital role of moderate Islam in modern Russia, how it can serve as a foundation for peace, stability, and international cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency Ms. Veronica, for delivering the message to the World Peace Forum. So we would like to invite the panel for discussion. I would like to highlight all the seat speaker has mentioned that peace is not a privilege of the powerful. It is the birthright of every human being. Let us awaken the conscience of the world before humanity loses its soul. So the cultivation of shared values bring harmony and balance, and the movement of Wasatiyah as the path of the moderation of Islam also is very significant in contributing to the World Forum. So we would like to invite to the panel that would contribute to the discussion. Yeah, we would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Ridwan. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
From the
Assalamu
South
alaikum.
Africa. Please, Mr. Ridwan.
Thank you. Yes, the significance of Wasatiyah as a Muslim model for all. Across history, Muslim communities have faced many challenges. Some have adapted to their context, while others have searched for new avenues to confront emerging pressures. At different points, scholars and leaders have tried to identify models that could guide Muslims through difficult times. Over the past decades, many scholars have argued that Wasatiyah offers such a model. They have unpacked the term and broadly agree that it can be used to promote an extremely balanced way of life, which resists both extremism and moral laxity. These communities live as minorities in secular states, navigate capitalist and neoliberal pressures, and share space with diverse migrant groups and cultures. Despite many shortcomings, they often manage to maintain a relatively balanced religious and social life. Muslim communities, whether in Southern Africa or Southeast Asia or elsewhere, can draw on Wasatiyah as a guiding approach. If understood deeply and applied with care, it can help shape communities that remain faithful to their religious commitment while engaging constructively with the complex societies in which they live. I thank you.
Thank you from the Mr. Muhammad Ridwan from South Africa. We would like now to invite the representative from Malaysia, Tan Sri Michael Yo. You here? Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think the presentation this morning went on very well, was very good, it was interesting. I just want to clarify, do you want me to make comments on the panel or to present my speech, which is supposed to be the next panel?
Yeah, you may comment to the session that have been delivered by the panel, or maybe you also may provide the insight.
Yeah, I will give my main comments at the panel after this, where I'm supposed to be speaking, but I think I heard the various presentations today from Singapore. I think that's representing the Vatican, and from the Australian professor. I think all these are very useful, very good points that we need to take into account. I think the main thing is to enhance interfaith harmony and dialogue, and that means we need to meet more regularly, to have more exchanges and to have more consultation. I think it's also important that we are able to come together to even share areas of differences, and so that we can perhaps narrow these differences and come to a broad consensus as to what we can move forward with. So I think going forward, there needs to be a lot of consultation, there have to be compromises, and there must also be the willingness to exchange and to be frank and candid with one another, yet being patient and tolerant and moderate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tan Sri Michael Yeo from Malaysia. We would like to invite the representative from the Netherlands, Ms. Asma Klassen. the Director of Islam Wise and co-founder of the first Islamic Teachers Academy at IUA-SR. Please, your time is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Esma Klaassen. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm representing over 80 Islamic schools in the Netherlands. We have quite some challenges in the Netherlands with extreme right-wing politics, but on the other hand, we have a lot of possibilities to still found our own school system. One of the things that we do is try to put a lot of efforts in raising awareness about Islam and Muslims in the Netherlands, and also the values of Islam that are really contributing to the society in general. So we make a curriculum based on Maqasid Sharia as an exemplary curriculum for peaceful society, and it is already accepted by the Inspection of Education. So, alhamdulillah, that is a really great achievement, alhamdulillah. And I would like to thank this opportunity to raise awareness about the Muslims and Islam in the Netherlands, that they're making a great effort as well to contribute. Also, we just founded the first Islamic Teachers Academy at the Islamic University of Rotterdam, and I invite you all to, in case you would like to note more, just get in touch with us as well, inshallah. And I would like to get acquainted with you. Jazakallah khairan.
Thank you, Sister Asma Klaassen. Now we would like to invite Dr. Pipip Ahmad Rifai from Universitas Paramadina from Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, I'd like to present some notes on the presentation delivered by others concerning peace and prosperity. One thing that this kind of conference and other conferences which will held by various organizations, like just a week ago also Majelis Ulama Indonesia, Indonesian Council of Ulama also has gathering concerning peace, inviting many organizations from Asia and Pacific, I think. So I feel that we need to have some practical follow-up of our theme of peace. How to push to make some effort to influence each government to follow up or to follow the international law in international affairs. For example, Professor John Mary Schimmer, for example, give some example how United States can stop support of Rwanda government to support rebels in Republic Democratic of Congo. Just 3 days they stopped the support, and the rebel didn't continue attacks on government Republic of Congo, for example. the same attitude actually, or same policy can be applied when it comes to the issue of Palestine, for example. If really the big power, especially in the Security Council, United Nations Security Council, ready to use their strength, their power to stop genocide in Gaza, for example, it is sure that the Israel government will stop the genocide, which until now still continuing. So I think all organizations in all countries have to try to influence government in their countries to have firm position and really try to emphasize to force the international law in the Palestine and Israeli conflict. That's what I want to say about this conference. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bapak Dr. Pipip Ahmad Rifai. Now we would like to invite the Miss Satomi Ogata from Japan. Professor Satomi Ogata. So your time is yours. We would like to have your insight in this forum. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for your precious time for me. I'm come from Japan for this conference, and I'm now teaching in Japan. And besides that, I'm working, doing my activity to prevail halal service in Japan for Muslim people who come from Indonesia, because Indonesian people are half of Muslim population in Japan. So very few people there, but majority is Indonesian people. And concerning to the wasatiyah concept, I think for halal service also, that's very important to take the path. So the strict standard from Muslim majority countries cannot be applied directly in Japan, and the strict standard is not helping people in Japan. If in Indonesia or Muslim countries, strict standard is regarded as a very good concept or good practice to help Muslim welfare, but the opposite is happening in Muslim minority countries like Japan. Japan's Muslim population is only 0.28, so very few, far more few than Europe or America. So our problem is caused by strict standard, and peace building have to be fostered by the condition where people come together and eat together and talk together, have communication among Muslim and non-Muslim people. So interface activity is very important, and also mass media's narration also have to be balanced. Now, today I have got the YouTube link from my friend in Japan. I have just know many private TV stations director or staff was pushed by foreign countries. So we can imagine what will happen. That's our condition. So for peace building, I think 2 points is very important. One is that balanced information, mass media information, and also it will give a great influence to education, elementary school, and so not only X or SNS, but education is very important. And one point is the communication among the society. So, about Wasatiyah, not the strict standard, which is far more higher. So basic requirement is must, but the higher standard is actually making problem because not following Prophet teaching. So the strict standard regard halal ingredient or halal food regarded as haram. It is not allowed by Islam teaching. That's, I think it's very important point. And now asking help to my friends from Muhammadiyah and NU and so on. So that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Professor Satomi. We would like now to invite Dr. Kahina Bahlur from France. Dr. Kahlina.
Over there.
Okay.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. وعليكم السلام. أنا سعيدة جدا لتواجدي معكم اليوم وأنا سعيدة للقائكم والتمكن من التعرف على هذه الأفكار، خاصة فكرة الوسطية في العالم الإسلامي. نحن في فرنسا وفي أوروبا كمسلمين نعيش ظروفاً ليست دائماً إيجابية بالنسبة لنا، وفي بعض الأحيان هي ظروف صعبة لأن الإسلاموفوبيا قوية جداً في أوروبا، وذلك يأتي في غالب الأحيان من الصورة التي يعطيها الإسلام المتطرف عن الإسلام. وطبعاً الإسلاموفوبيا تتغذى من هذه الصورة المتطرفة، ولذا أظن أنه من الواجب على العلماء المسلمين والدول الإسلامية العمل على تعريف وخاصة تربية الأجيال الصاعدة على هذا المفهوم، مفهوم الوسطية، وتعريفه كما يقول البروفيسور ربما التفكير في تعريفه بطريقة أكثر توازناً وتأتي ب كيف أقول إعادة التعريف لأخذ المفاهيم الحقوق. أشكركم.
Thank you, Dr. Kahlina. So from Dr. Kahlina, we get the message from the image that Islam presents. It is clear that Islam itself can evolve and adapt to changing circumstances. This evolving understanding of Islam requires us to face contemporary challenges, especially in education and in guiding the younger generation. We must focus on teaching them both the authenticity of the spirit of Islam and its practical relevance to real-life issues. Thank you so much to all the panel for contributing to the discussion to the second session of the second day of the World Peace Forum. We would like now to invite all the seat speakers to deliver the concluding remark on the theme of the significance of Wasatiyat and Tionghoa for a new world civilization. We provide the 2-minute allocated time for each seat speaker to provide the concluding remark. And we would like to invite from our right, maybe Mr. Lauren Chong as the consultor of the Vatican Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue first for giving the concluding remark. 2 minutes, please. Yeah.
Thank you, moderator. So I think if we looked at the genesis of the multi-faith movements, they came after the Second World War, when religions felt guilty. They were unable to prevent 2 world wars. I think we are coming to another world war. So we, as religious people, as faith-based people, we have to be a little bit more aggressive in peace building. Forums alone are not enough. We need practical, concrete solution, like the theme of these days, from the Wasatiyah and the Zhonghua, and how do we bring civilizations together, as Park Dean has invited us to do. And I hope that we can look at practical ways to actually collaborate. And I want to say that if we look at the situation that Gaza faced, before this endless war, there was a deprivation of economic rights. Without a shared economy, there cannot be peace. And without common action, our dialogue is futile. So I urge all the faith-based leaders, beyond interfaith dialogue, beyond the inspiration of our faith traditions, let us prove that faith-based leaders can collaborate to shape an economy for good, as Pope Francis has called us to do, to reimagine the rules of the economy so that the least, the deprived, those suffering from injustice, those suffering from intentional societal economic deprivation can be helped by us. And I know every one of us is doing something already, but I hope what we are here for in the 9th World Peace Forum, I hope by the 10th World Peace Forum, which is 2 years later, we can demonstrate, we can activate a multi-economy for peace. And now I want to also formally invite Park Dean to join us in London as our world advisor for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lauren Song. Now we would like to invite Mr. Kevisun Vidyananda.
Thank you, Chair. This is a very interesting experience and a very interesting opportunity to transform the world. As my concluding remarks, I'd like to ask a few questions. We ask ourselves a few questions. Number one, what problem are we trying to solve? It's very specific. It goes into the heart of processes and methodology to bring the vision to life. What problems do we want to solve? What are the common problems facing us today that we need to solve? And we need to solve with our shared values, spiritual values, and our shared spiritual practice of today's themes, Vasatya and Zhonghua or Tionghoa, as we say it. The second question is, as we do this, we always talk about the middle ground, the center. Where is the center? What is our reference to the center? We don't want to be on the left and we are right in the center of the left. Neither do we want to be in the right, to be in the center of the right. Because when we are left, we are never right. When we are right, we will be nothing left. Thank you. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Lauren Song. Now we would like to invite Ayatollah Dr. Hamid Sahrian. Your time is yours.
Thank you very much for the time again to me. As I have said, I insist again that when we are in need of peace, we should think that what is the reason of war? Why we confront the war during these days while everybody talking about the peace? Why in the field and in the middle of field we can see that the innocent people are killed while everybody is talking about the peace? And where is the international organizations which was established to implement peace? Where are they when innocent people are killed in Gaza and now in Sudan? We should pay attention that the arrogant countries like Israel, who are killing innocent people, how can we stop them? And I explained that we are in need of hard and soft power to prevent from killing the innocent. Hard power is necessary because the enemy doesn't understand anything except power. And soft power is needed to explain for the mind of the normal people that why we are in war. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayatollah Dr. Hamid Sahriani. Now we would like to invite Professor Dr. Greg Fairley.
Terima kasih, Ibu. I do not have much more to add to what I said before. It seems to me that in a forum like this, there are two approaches at the very least that we can take. One is an approach that we seek to maximize consensus and to avoid issues that might be controversial or divisive. The other option is to perhaps be prepared to confront differences and see if there are particular matters on which we can have agreement. My concern is that concepts such as wasatiyya sound very good, and indeed they have the potential to be very positive influences in trying to create peace and religious understanding. But they can also become something that can be misused and something that doesn't have much inherent value unless we specify what we mean by wasatiyya. So those are the two things that I think that we should consider, and a very general discussion about religious tolerance and wasatiyya is an excellent thing, but if we are to apply it in a practical way, then we need to give some specific content to what we mean by wasatiyya. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fairley. Now we would like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Veronica. Your time is yours.
Thank you again. I would like to convey my personal gratitude to Mr. Din Shamsuddin for arranging such a very important and very useful event of exchanging views on Islamic development all over the world among the global turbulence. On behalf of the government of Russia, thank you again, Excellency, for your active participation as the representative from Indonesia in the Strategic Vision Group, Russia Islamic World. I am very much convinced that Mr. Din Shamsuddin is definitely one of the most well-known Islamic politicians from Indonesia, known in Russia, and as well as Mr. Din Shamsuddin is very well aware of the inter-religion and inter-ethnical and inter-confessional situation in our country. Frankly speaking, I'm very proud to feel myself as the citizen of the Russian Federation, because what we witness all over the world, what I feel, we Russians really have a very good heritage from the Soviet Union, when one of the main principles of the existence of the society was tolerance to all the religions and to all ethnical groups in our country. Today we have two representatives from different Mufti organizations from Russia, Ilyas Hazrat and Mrs. Elvira. They are permanent representatives from Russian Islamic organizations participating in this conference. They definitely will agree with me that Islam is in a very important part of the life of the Russian society, and Islamic culture is very well known among all the citizens. As for me, I am a great fan of the city of Kazan and of Tatarstan, as I have already mentioned, one of the regions with the majority Islamic population. So again, Padin, thank you very much for this conference, for this exchange of views, for this discussion on Wasatiyat and moderate Islam. I think it is very useful for all of us to get a better understanding of the approaches of various countries, and to have this discussion and to have this exchange of views. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency Ms. Veronica. Professor Dean, there is one question from Professor Usman. Is it allowed to? Okay, Professor Usman, please, your time is yours.
The concluding remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairperson. Sorry. I decided to say a few words after listening to the interesting remarks by Professor Greg. I view this forum, this peace forum, as a very important dialogue on the idea of middleness, as conveyed by the Arabic term wasatiyah, Chungyung or Chungyung, Chunghua, and so on, or the golden mean, and other terms from other civilizations. But since we are speaking in English, I think this idea of middleness is very, very, very important. Greg raised a question, but then the idea of the middle, but where is the middle? That position of the middle is not as clear as it is. But as a concept, we can speak of middleness. When in physics, for example, I mentioned yesterday, when I speak of the center of a physical body, it's basically you are trying to locate the center of gravity of that physical body. In the sense that is how the body is being balanced around that fulcrum. Now, but when it comes to concepts, ideas, beliefs, then it's so clear. But this is where I would like to share here what I think is the perspective on the wasatiyah from the Islamic perspective, because that concept, as I have written in several of my writings. In other words, that idea of middleness is discussed at various levels: physical level, at the sociological level, at the even philosophical level in terms of ideas, as well as civilizational level. Talk about the basically civilizational middleness, which I think Islam claims to be. And yesterday I referred to that verse, the Quranic verse in chapter 2, verse 142, which I think defines, we mentioned ummatan wasatan, is the middle community, that this basically defines the ummatic character, the ummatic character of this, and as well identity, ummatic identity of this civilizational middleness. Now, to the question, where is this middleness in the Islamic perspective? I think it is embedded in the Sharia, or the divine law that is enlightened by the Maqasid Sharia. Now, there is the normative Islam. From this perspective, there is the normative middleness, which is basically both individual and collective witnessing. In other words, middleness is defined by the individual and collective witnessing. In terms of the individual witnessing, is the first pillar of Islam. The first rukun, the first the pillar of Islam, which is to bear witness, to bear witness of the divine unity and to bear witness of the messengership of Muhammad, of Prophet Muhammad. So this first pillar of Islam serves as the definition of the normative middleness, which means the question of witnessing. We all are called upon to be witnessing. To be in the middle is to be a witness of this global community. Now, what is and of course so basically the first pillar of Islam and that verse about the normative identity, the Ummati identity. Now, why is problematic now in practice? What I call is middleness in practice. Now, middleness in practice that you pointed out, mentioned in Greg, is very, very interesting to talk about one in the field of in the political thought, political ideas, in political life. We have the idea of the center, to be in the center of political spectrum. Now, basically in practice, the question of we oscillating from left to right. And how do we deal in politics? Something that Islam claims, I think the Quran claims, the divine law, for the purpose of the divine law, is precisely to strike that balance between these social forces that tend to move to the right, move to the left, but rather now to go to the center. That is the claim, but I think it's something that can be discussed. So, basically, our dialogue now is dialogue about issue of middleness, which should be discussed at the popular level as well as the academic level. Now, at the academic level, I think, for example, to talk about middleness in the political life is a very, very interesting thing. So, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Professor Osman from Malaysia. Now we are going to the final session. In conclusion, the significance of Wasatiyah for a new world civilization. Wasatiyah, the principle of balance and moderation, remind us that the true strength lies in harmony, not domination. It calls us to build a world civilization grounded in justice, compassion, and mutual respect. Through Wasatiyah, we learn to bridge differences, to choose dialogue over division, and to make peace the foundation of our shared future. So World Peace Forum is an ongoing effort for us through world peace. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to the moderator and seat speakers in this session. Our moderator in this session is Professor Poppy. She is a professor at the Universitas Pajajaran in Bandung. She was the Indonesian cultural and educational attaché at Washington, D.C., and she's now active at the Council of International Relations and Cooperation of the Central Board of Muhammadiyah. So, matur nuhun, Tete Popi, and also to the seat speakers. I would like, on behalf of the organizers, to remind all of you, my dear distinguished participants, that the format of the World Peace Forum has been designed in my term that WPF is indeed a rendezvous and venue of engagement of peacemakers and reconcilers from all over the world, from various religious background, nationalities, professions, and others. So really, the format of WPF is different from many other seminars and conferences. Yeah. But the WPF is a dialogical, informal conversation. We don't have much time to go into deep, so that we have seat speakers. We call it seat speakers. I don't know Greek Valley is the correct English term or not. In Indonesian term, pemantik, the one who initiate conversation to give initial ideas, and there is really no question and answer, and everybody feel free, and sometimes the moderator may choose, like this time, who need to respond, but to the specific topics. For the ninth series of the World Peace Forum, we choose three, specific topics. The first session on the worldview of Wasatiyat Islam and Tionghoa. We have been exploring since yesterday about this topic. And the second topic about the importance, the significance. Al-Mawdu al-awwal fil jilsa al-ula amas an haqiqah huwiyah wasatiyatul Islam wa Tionghoa. Wa fil jilsa athaniya significance an ahamiyah, the importance, kepentingan, like we have discussed today. And the last session on the viability of global collaboration based on Wasatiyat and Tionghoa. An imkan al-hadara, al-ta'awun al-hadari al-mabniya ala asas al-wasatiyah wa Tionghoa, the viability. So indeed, this second session, it's important or not? Because our very belief, the most problem of the world today, as I have been saying since the opening, that we are facing great challenges of the world of disorder, the world of uncertainty, great shift, big disruption, and so many cumulative global damages in our world today because of extremity, because of the world system which is very much based on human secularisms that paved the way to liberalization in the field of economy, politics, and culture. So the solution is the middle path, but the Islamic term is wasatiyah. But in my understanding, Professor Osman Bakar, we can find a meeting of mind. So in my understanding, Wasatiyatul Islam is not the Islamic Shariat in the more strict sense, but the ethical and moral values provided by Islam. We have discussed during the high-level consultation of world Muslim scholars in May 2018, I happened that time as special envoy of the President for interfaith and inter-civilizational dialogue and cooperation. And one of the mandate to me is to mainstream Wasatiyat Islam to the world. And the participants, many ulamas and Muslim intellectuals, that Wasatiyat Islam consists of 7 principles. The first is al-i'tidal, being just and need to erect justice. This is the most important. And the second is at-tawazun, balance and equilibrium in our life. And the third is tolerance, to promote understanding, tolerance, tasamu, tolerance. Ashura, the fourth, inclination to consultation between ourselves. And the fifth is al-islah, leaning to mediation and also to engage in reconstruction. And then al-qudwa, pioneering. And the last one, al-muwatana, citizenship. This is the principle from Islam, and there are also from other religions, I believe, that we have a meeting of mind. And therefore, what we need is to create shared theology, shared understanding of the middle path from various sources, this time only from Tionghoa, Confucianism, and from Islam, but we, form it to be shared theology and understanding. And is it possible or not? The middle path in our current world today. That's what we need. And therefore, we have one more session on the viability of creating a global collaboration based on Wasatiyat and Tionghoa, starting at 10 o'clock. We have short time for coffee break, and then coming back again. 1-2 minutes, my dear friends.
Yeah. Thank you. I think after listen to Pak Din, I cannot help but I want to support his idea. This was Satya, the middle part. Actually, middle part in the many civilizations, like Tionghoa civilization, is called the Tionghoa, the Zhongyong. And then in Western, we call moderation. And I think it's definitely we can actually make this conference, the 9 World Peace, with the leadership of Padin, Wasatya, Tionghoa, and the Western, the moderation. And as I said, if we look at all the world, all the problem, is all come from education. And I believe when we education is establish a human being from school. Like yesterday, we see all the young kids from school, that 3 view, their personal view, their world view, and their value view of our life, these 3 view. And I think it's really possible with so many thinkers here, what you call, especially Muhammadiyah, if we can turn this into, like in the school, moderation, very simple to understand. If you like certain food, you keep on overeating the food, you become obese. So moderation is, they say Wasatya of the Islamic Wasatya, and the Zhongyong of the Confucianism, or they call Zhonghua. So, and then the Western, definitely we have to transcend whatever are taught into education and put into the action for our young to learn. So, and then for this kind of forum, I think we have to really make sure that education give it to all the world leaders, You didn't have a moderation, you look at Gaza, you look at Iran and Israel. Iran bombed Israel. Israel also, you suffered. So moderation very important, up to the sun. So I really, really think that what Padin do on this 9, he have, after keep on searching, I think he have found the root, and if we can build this, become all the major view of the whole human being, that moderation is a view you must take in your life. And I think for that we can achieve something from this forum. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Share conversation to be continued. The time is for coffee break, 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and please come back at the 10 o'clock. Thank you.
So drink one coffee is good, huh? Too many coffee also no good. Moderation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the second session ended, we will have a short break for approximately 10 minutes before
Yeah.
proceeding to the third session.
Shall we have a
All
photo session to
participants
the
shall
speaker?
be assembled at
Photo,
10.
photo to all the speaker. Yeah. Prof. Dean, we would like to invite Prof. Dean to have a photo session with the seat speaker before you left for coffee. Yeah.
Refreshments are available at the meeting room on my left side, at the next room next door. Thank you.